the games. I think both of them were conversation worthy, I guess we can say.
That's a fair point, Sydney.
Yeah, so we got Paul in the studio, we got Jim in the studio, we got Josh, Nate's back there producing. I'm sure everybody has something to say about last night's games. We're going to start off with that.
Yeah, let's. I
didn't think either of them were great. I thought they both sucked, to be quite honest.
Well, the second game was good, close.
Yeah.
I mean, it came down to the end.
I mean, sure, but a lot of bad taste in the mouth.
Why?
Not
What is
exactly
your
my
bad
cup
taste?
of
Is your
tea.
bad taste
Because you wanted
towards the
Cincinnati
teams?
to win. I had Cincinnati too, and the refs kind of screwed them.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's when they become and they make themselves the focal point like they did last night, and
Well,
it's not like either team played great either. And in all honesty, I didn't think any of the four teams played particularly great yesterday. To be honest,
well, the first game was insane because
Ugh,
San Francisco
heartbreaking.
didn't even have a quarterback, so it was like watching Army football. You know what I mean? Like nobody could throw the ball 20 yards downfield, so they just ran it every time, and like it was almost like they gave up because they didn't have any other options. So that was kind of strange.
I thought they were going to put McCaffrey in as quarterback for a minute, and
well,
I
they
thought
would
that
have,
would
but he's
be,
not throwing any deep balls.
It would have been interesting, you know. I think
would've been
he
a
would have maybe
disaster.
thrown a little bit better than Johnson. That was hard to
you
watch.
leave Washington football team legend Josh Johnson alone.
He might have had his time
Josh-
in a minute, but this was not it. This
Josh
was not
Johnson
it.
has played for 13 different NFL teams.
Three of
Wild.
them being with the 49ers. And clearly, Universe, I think, was saying when he unfortunately got that concussion, they were like, we got to get this guy out of the game.
Well, I
because
don't
it was
mean, I
sad.
don't know. Josh Johnson was a better option than no quarterback. And
Yeah, obviously.
He's a
I mean,
four-string quarterback. I mean, it was just horrible luck for San Francisco to, get to that point. You go into the game with Brock Purdy, he's 100% healthy. 1 minute later, he's out for the game, or at least, can't pass the ball anymore. So they bring in Josh Johnson. He didn't really have a chance to do anything before he was out for the game. And then you're like, what the heck's going on? Now, I had bet Philadelphia and the under, so those were both pretty much
You're like,
locked
right.
up when
You're
Josh
right.
Johnson came out of the game.
Can we
but-
say, though, that even though the misfortune that happened for the 49ers, they still oddly kept up when you see the stats side by side with the Eagles, which is saying not a positive thing for the Eagles, I think, in my
The
opinion.
Eagles-
They got blown
okay
out.
with not
the
positive
Eagles
things
knew.
about
The Eagles knew they didn't have to.
Yeah.
The Eagles knew they
Do you
didn't have to
think
do
they
anything
played
after they
down?
didn't have a quarter. They just ran the ball because that's
Yeah,
what
they
the 49ers were doing. They just ran it every single down.
End the game.
Yeah.
They tried to end the
I
game,
mean-
run the clock, end the game, but they didn't keep up with the.
I mean,
Eagles are a little
I know
too hot
where
to
I know
trot.
where Sid's coming from. I do slightly agree with.
Yes,
that
I love
take.
that. Thank you, Paul.
because up until the end of the third quarter, really, I mean, Philly wasn't exactly outright just running the ball.
Yes.
I mean, they were still going for it.
Yeah, no, San
I mean,
Francisco. We
San
knew San
Francisco-
Francisco's defense was
San
good.
Fran, to be honest, to be frank, their defense has shot themselves in the foot about
Yeah.
5 times too many.
so many
penalty-wise.
stupid,
Yeah.
like
Whether it was a late hit out of
false
bounds, which
fouls,
we
whatever.
saw in the night game anyway, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot, which I that's where I do agree. I like I said, I don't particularly find that any of the teams played great yesterday. Nothing got me excited to go into 2 weeks from now being like, the Super Bowl is going to be like amazing when
Rihanna
Frankly.
halftime.
do we feel like
Oh, gosh.
Cincinnati got screwed?
A little bit,
little
but
bit.
you make your own luck. You know what? I mean, how many times you see a defensive player hit a quarterback out of bounds and like that's 15 yards and that's game's over. So like how many times you see that and it's just like I think part of it is in the heat of the play. It's hard not to. It must be obviously, but geez, that Asai penalty. Hitting Mahomes out of bounds after Mahomes took off for the one time all game
Right.
when they really needed it, but then got the extra 15 yards. I mean, that was the ball game. I don't think Butker makes a kick from where. And again, he got the first down, but there was only 8 seconds left, so they might have been a chance to win one more play to pick up a few yards. So that was a tough way to go out for Cincinnati, but they had plenty of chances. But I do feel like there was. I don't have a problem with most of the officials' calls down the stretch or in the second half of that game, but the one that does bother me was the pass interference call on the out pattern where it was after they reran the play.
I was going to
Yep.
say the do-over was kind of
Right.
terrible
Yeah.
too.
Well, if you see the replay, the guy was coming in trying to stop the play, so I give them the benefit of the doubt there. But the very next play when they called pass interference, where the guy hooked him from behind but didn't even turn him. And you know it was a bad call because when they went to the official in the booth there, what's his name?
Gene.
Yeah,
Gene
Gene Steratore. Whenever they do that all season long, Steratore always backs the officials because he is a former official. But he was like, I don't know. They usually didn't turn him enough. So that was a bad call, and that was a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He also had the what would have been 4 or 5 plays before when Cincinnati had the ball. Higgins was bumped as well, and that was not called DPI on the Chiefs. So
Yeah, I agree with that one. But
I mean,
you
it's
have a few of those every
there's
game.
well, you can't. It goes back to you can't call one but not the other.
There was a lot of interesting debate on social media, of course. I do hate when people like Bengals fans, they don't want to take any responsibility.
The Bengals were an '80s music
No, they're
group.
they're back.
Bengals?
They're back to the Bungles.
Okay, well, whatever they are, I hate when the fans will piggyback and just be like, it was all the refs. It was nothing that we did. It was the refs, the refs, the refs. Where instead of saying, like, yes, we had
personal
some
accountability there.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
come
had
on.
some crappy calls, but we still didn't get it done at the end of the day.
Yeah, their
unfortunately.
offense didn't show up. I mean, the Chiefs. We literally sat here on what was it, Friday or Thursday, and said the Chiefs' defense was the weakest defense left out of the four.
That was a surprise to me of the weekend.
And
How good they played, how much
They
pressure they
literally,
got on
I
Mahomes.
mean, they, more or less, they shut that offense down like we hadn't seen it, in the last few weeks of the regular season or in the playoffs. So, if the Bengals, that's the part that they can say, they can look themselves in the mirror and say this was our fault.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But you coming down the stretch, football, like any sport, it's a momentum game, and when you get a couple of those bad calls that are kind of really poorly timed, that can really turn things, and I think it did.
I think they were too conservative play calling, especially on early downs, trying to get that 2nd and 6 so they can then. They needed to open it up a little bit more earlier, throw it downfield, not only to the sidelines but across the middle of the field. Jamar
Then when
Chase
they finally
didn't touch
did,
it enough.
He throws an interception, and it's like the worst timing. That
Yeah, and it was
just didn't click.
it was a great play by the Chiefs defenders there. Two rookies, I think. One tipped it, another one caught it. But
Thrown into double coverage like that really wasn't a smart move on Joey's part. But hey,
Can we address the
Such is
elephant
the
in the
game.
room with the Eagles? I mean,
What
at least it's the elephant in my room. I just get a really arrogant vibe from the whole team, and I'm very salty because I did place that bet and they did beat and annihilate, which it makes me feel a little bit better that they're like so good but I just this interview that I heard with the quarterback, I don't know when it was. I think it was, but he's saying all eyes are always on me, and it's so hard. And I was like, what? It just sounded really narcissistic. The coach was a little extra. I'm not a fan.
Travis Kelce called the mayor of Cincinnati a jabroni and told him to know his role, but nobody said that about him.
Right, I
That's
don't
strange.
like
I
Patrick
didn't get
Mahomes
that
either.
feel for any of it.
I
at all.
think that this.
In fact, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for Philly, was trying to run away from the interview.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I
everybody's
think
a little salty with
if
that.
we feel so, looking at the teams that are left now, do we feel like there's a little bit of a, anti-interest, not a lot of interest here? Like this was
Yes.
this is
There's a lot
the
of
most
interest.
disappointing outcome
Yeah.
for me.
I
It's very
disagree.
disappointing.
Andy Reid coached for 12 or 14 years in Philadelphia, another 10 years in Kansas City. They're playing each other. Philadelphia's had a great sports year overall between the Phillies and the 76ers. And
Choke artist.
well, I mean, they
All of them. I hope they all choke again.
You got brothers playing against each other too, which is cool.
I
think-
think
I think
sick of
you're
these
right.
narratives.
And
I'm
when
happy
did
for that
Mahomes
mother.
win the Super Bowl last? Was it 3 years ago?
3 years ago, I think.
four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, was so young at the time when he won those first two. Everybody was like, "Man, Mahomes is going to win, 12
Yeah.
Super Bowls before he's done and just blow by Brady." Well, this is an opportunity now for him to actually continue on that path. Jalen Hurts, young quarterback. This was his first playoff appearance, let alone Super Bowl appearance. I'm intrigued by it. Philadelphia opened up as 1-point favorites, I think, last night when the game ended. I didn't look at it this morning.
I think it was. I think this morning it was 2 points.
So it went another. I'm not surprised. I almost jumped on it right away because in my mind, Philadelphia is probably 3.5 point favorites in that game. But again, I was really impressed with Kansas City's defense. That was the one thing I didn't see coming this weekend, was how much pressure they were able to consistently get on Burrow and how they were able to guard those wideouts for Cincinnati. Really was surprised, and a lot of that to Spagnuolo and Andy Reid. A lot of credit to them. And I don't know if they'll have that same type of game plan or be able to do the same thing against Philadelphia.
Yeah, and Nate made the really good point that we all forgot about is the brothers playing each other in the Super Bowl. Can you imagine being that mom? I just sit there and think of her hanging out
can't
with her
lose.
little old lady friends, and she's like, they're like, oh, what are you going to do the next 2 weekends? She's like, well, my sons are going to the
Who do you
Super
root
Bowl, and I
for?
get to
Who
go
do you
watch
root
them.
for?
I don't think you
She's
root. I
got
think
that,
you just
you
watch.
know, the half jersey, of course, which I love. You know, it's like one of them on the front, one of them on the back, which is so cute. And she took a picture, and I just love that part. Like, you should be a proud mom. Like, I did that. I'm like, look at my boys. I think that's fun. And then it'll be interesting to see Rihanna coming back. Honestly, I am interested to see what she's going to do because she's been out of the music industry, honestly, for like years now. And it's interesting.
It is.
Got to think of it on that side of stuff. I know you guys are thinking the actual game, but the
Cindy's thinking
entertainment.
No, I like the
Rihanna.
commercials. I'm always interested to see the commercials. To
They've
see
gone downhill, I think, very
Well,
much.
to
so
me,
in the
it's like
last
they're
few
very
years.
expensive, and so a business will buy them, and then they'll create something to put in that slot. I'm always interested just to see, what they do. But the other thing with this is there's no more cold weather games. I think one of the reasons it was such a low-scoring game in Kansas City last night was the weather. These teams
chilly.
are now both going to Arizona. Hopefully Kansas City will get a chance to get healthy again because it wasn't just Mahomes that was hurt. It was like all their wide receivers. They were almost like San Francisco
Dropping like
without
flies.
a quarterback with their wide receivers. So I would like to see everybody both at full strength, and I think it'll be a better played game in warmer conditions. And I do think that early, without looking too close at things, I like Philadelphia.
Fly, Eagles, fly. TJ is going to be so mad I just said that, but I'm going to switch it up. We talked.